Hey, welcome to Hear Us Out. I'm Paul.
And I'm Patrick. And tonight we're going to be talking about comebacks, the comeback kings and queens, actors, actresses, and people in Hollywood who have, for one reason or another, fallen off the radar at one point in their career and made it back. Or I think we're going to probably cheat and throw in a few people who are actually on their way back. And Paul, I think I have a few nominations towards the end of the video on who we think will be the next ones to have the big comeback. I know everybody out there is probably thinking, oh, you're going to cover all the people I know. We are. We're going to cover them, but we're going to cover them really, really quickly. Because I think there's a few lesser thought of, and people haven't really realized that some of these people have had dips in their career just because their careers have been so bloody long.
Yeah. Like it's an interesting kind of topic that we've talked about a couple of times before and stuff. So, which is it's good to kind of bring it up and discuss it further again to kind of, and especially since this time we've probably had we've had a few comebacks that are less surprising. Sorry, not less surprising. Which goes, I guess, more surprising, and then so like it's an interesting kind of time to kind of bring this up and stuff.
Yeah,
So.
well, just before we go into it, we've already got KC Wonder 99 saying yellow, hello, hey there, hey Kevin. I think anybody who's in the comments or watching this, not live, watching it recorded, get into the comments down below and let us know who you think made the best or biggest comeback. I'm gonna kind of get into this. We're not gonna just talk about a list of people, like I said, but we can talk about the fickle nature of fame or how fickle fame is, um, and kind of get into the main reasons why people would maybe disappear or not. There are people who went from being superstars back to no ones, just unknown practically, and then back to superstars. So you got John Travolta. Let's just start with one of the big ones. You got the John Travoltas, the Mickey Rourkes, the Michael Keatons of this world. These are people who started off on a pretty big high. John Travolta, as a very young man, his Saturday Night Fever days, Grease, which was just huge. He was a worldwide known name very, very early on in his career. Um, that was the 70s, though, and into a little bit of the 80s.
Just want to say the screen keeps freezing, so we seem to be having some kind of technical difficulty.
Oh,
Just want to see if I can make that better.
I don't think it's just you. Yeah, I'm just checking my monitor and it looks like we are freezing. I'm wondering if somebody can let us know if you can still hear us okay. That'd be cool. And we'll know in about 30 seconds because there's a delay between us and you guys.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I just did some changes on bit rates and stuff like that. Hopefully that will.
Okay, we'll see if it gets better. I'm wondering if we should throw up a title screen and come back in a few minutes and actually change the direction of the call.
Yes, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, you throw up the title screen. We'll answer your call.
Cool. Hey, we're back. Hopefully, the technical issues have been fixed, and we can continue on with the live stream. We won't know until
And
30 seconds.
under the assumption that we do get to edit this out on the recorded stream, so only the live people know that we just had a full failure. I'm going to say, hey everybody, welcome to Hear Us Out. I'm Patrick,
And I'm Paul.
and we're talking about, as some of you may already know, actors who made a comeback. And to spare you all the preamble again, we were talking John Travolta. John Travolta, huge in the 70s, kind of nowhere in the 80s. I'm actually just checking our stream and I see we are freezing again. But you know what? Let's just plow on through. We're making this an audio podcast mostly now. Enjoy our Max Headroom for anybody who's old enough, or what would be a modern Freezy reference? Why are all my references from 1982?
I don't know.
What would be a good or William Shatner? If we can get it right just as we're speaking, we could be quite William Shatner. Or bad William Shatner impression. Look, we'll just have to ignore the visuals, Paul. Anybody out there? We had loads of cool stuff to show you. Now we're not going to bother, so you just got to listen to our beautiful voices.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's not your fault. Let's blame Irish broadband. What I will say is, I'm not saying the word John Travolta one more time after this, but what I will say is, when he was somewhere in the 70s as a huge star and then fell off in the 80s, a lot of people don't remember this, but he'd become a joke, kind of, not a full joke, but a little bit of a joke by the time the big comeback film happened. And that big comeback film, strangely for him, involved dancing. And it really was John Travolta dancing in Pulp Fiction. Now, I know it wasn't only the dance scene, but like everybody associated John Travolta with Grease, with Saturday Night Fever, his big hits that had music or dancing as part of them. So it was kind of fitting that his big comeback film had that iconic him and Uma Thurman dance scene.
Yeah, like it's an interesting kind of one with John Travolta as well, because as you said, he's such a big hit, and then coming back, though, because he was very much onto kind of like smaller screen stuff as well for a while, like not TV, but more kind of like, I guess, straight to video movies as well. And it was like
He did some crappy stuff, all right. He did the kind of
Battle Earth. What was it? Battlefield
well.
Earth.
I will say this much: if we're tracking his trajectory, and nobody can see my weird hand gestures tonight, so I'm gonna probably stick my hands in my pockets. But it goes from the top in the 70s down to the bottom in the 80s, and then Pulp Fiction shot him back up again. And he had kept working and he was doing other roles. But then around the 2000s, when he did Battlefield Earth, it was like, my God, John Travolta's on the way back down again. And it's like it hasn't been a constant slide, but he's done some really ropey stuff. And
Yeah,
then did the he did the OJ miniseries a couple of years ago, and everybody's like, "Hey, John Travolta still got it." He
yeah.
was the was he Robert Kardashian? I think I can't remember who he
I
played.
I think so. I
Yeah,
haven't actually seen the OJ show yet.
it
I
was good.
definitely. I believe so. Like I've heard a lot about it, and it's one of those things that it's on the list. So that's annoying.
No, it's a good cast. Um, I'm just I can see some people helpfully telling us thank you. The audio is back. I can see I must have pulled a blue steel at some stage. Thank you very much. I'm going to try and do one now intentionally and just hold it for a long time in a
Let's do
second.
it together. One, two, three.
2, 3. See, my voice is going to change while I'm holding this face, though. That's kind of weird. I
There you go.
really don't know what blue steel should look like. Um, Audio's fine. We're all good. So every 10th frame or so, well, you know what? The genius only happens every 10th frame or so. So I think we're minted. I'm gonna pivot away on through the obvious ones because you ask somebody on the street this, they'll say John Travolta. One of the stock answers around the end of the 2000s was Mickey Rourke, because
Mm-hmm.
Mickey Rourke went from starting off with kind of steamy leading man, kind of a little bit dangerous roles, like he had his Body Heat and 9.5 Weeks with Kim Basinger and Kim Basinger, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Um, he never stopped working in that period. He just kind of declined. He obviously had some personal demons. He actually went off and became a boxer. And then lo and behold, The Wrestler happened. And The Wrestler, which was a great performance, great movie, deservedly put him back on the map so that he could be part of what was shaping up to be the biggest franchise of all time. He got into Iron Man 2,
Yeah.
and that was just unfortunate timing in a lot of ways because it was not the best Iron Man, you know? Wasn't the
No,
worst Iron Man.
but he's a really good, like, I would say that he's a really good villain in it. And he could, like, because I definitely think that he could do a lot more with it as well. It was just that I think that script was just a little bit weak. Like, because you got two like you got Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer, which like is a great fit kind of thing, and then you have Mickey Rourke as Whiplash, which is a great kind of combo. You have the weapons designers or weapons manufacturers that are like against Stark, not great because Stark. Then you get the powerhouse of Whiplash's intelligence. It was just that I think just it may have fabled from the Spider-Man problems that it had before, which is there's too many
Villain stuffing.
villains.
Villain stuffing. Villain stuffing in sequels, you think they would have learned. Although they seem to have mastered it now since. Well, actually, no. Endgame didn't have loads of villains. It just had a metric crap ton of heroes. Um,
Hmm.
I've noticed that, and you've seen some of my show notes, Paul. I haven't seen all of yours, and you haven't seen all of mine, but you
Yeah,
can attest this is the truth. I had them written down: John Travolta, Mickey Rourke, and then Michael Keaton
yeah,
as the other obvious one. And it got called out in the chat. Michael Keaton, all the way from a lot of people would say, Batman to Birdman. I would say from Gung Ho and way back at the start of the 80s, Mr. Mom, Michael Keaton was a hero in my house. I loved him as a kid, but my brother really dug him. So we watched on VHS a lot of Michael Keaton films, and he was a funny dude. Then he was already a star when he got Batman. He was a comedic star,
hmm
and Batman '89 put him into the superstar category. Um,
yeah. He put
then
it put him into the leading man kind of role in a more serious capacity, which was
Yeah,
great.
it made him like box office bankable gold. He'd already been making the money, but now it was like this guy can do serious, he can do comedy, and he can do our big, tent pole movies. I will say though, a lot of people going, oh yeah, after that he completely fell off the map. He kept working. Like all of these people, none of them stopped working. They kept getting roles. Well, not all of them, but a lot of the people we're going to mention. It's just he wasn't getting the same caliber of roles. He had a few, great turns. He did Multiplicity, where he was in it 5 times. I can't remember how many copies of him there ended up being. Um, if you haven't seen that, he clones himself a lot. That's why I'm saying copies. Michael Keaton as himself, copying himself. But it was from kind of the 2010. That was when his dead period really, really happened. He didn't do
Yeah,
anything really of any interest until Birdman. Then.
yeah. It
Um,
was Birdman that kind of really kind of brought him back into the mainstream because Birdman, like, not only was a great script and stuff like that, it was a great fit for him. A kind of like semi kind of manic, semi kind of not manic kind of like it had all the elements that Michael Keaton is famous and great for,
yeah,
which gets so like it was a perfect fit of both of them, and it really showed then Michael Keaton's abilities again to kind of like grow and stuff like that, and then to have him like is it kind of weird that he was called Harvey Bird, where he was Birdman, not Harvey Birdman, but he was Birdman, and then he's the Vulture in
yeah.
uh,
He's been Batman, Birdman, and Vulture. So if they ever do a live action Looney Tunes, he's going to be like Tweety Pie, and possibly Roadrunner. But the great thing about him, Michael Keaton, he always had the acting chops. He always had the comedy chops, but he always had that kind of scary edge, which is what made him great as Batman the first time round. But it's what made him so great in Birdman, and then a natural pick for a villain in Spider-Man. He's still, every time I think of our MCU villains episode, I go back to going, I should have just picked Vulture because I really bloody like him. Um, yeah, he like his career is not going anywhere but up again. He's just getting tied to more and more projects, and I think I'm happy that Michael Keaton's going to be one of those guys from my childhood that's going to be the Clint Eastwood of my time now.
mhm.
He's going to be around for a long time to come.
yeah, like it's Michael Keaton. I can't because like I think the first time I ever saw him in a movie was Beetlejuice as well.
Mm.
So like
What
that was my introduction to Michael Keaton, and from there I just anytime I've seen him in a movie, I've just gone, well, he's kind of bankable for me.
yeah.
And then have it like yeah, having him returning and stuff like that, is just great. So
And I should point out that we, and Paul, you saw my screen because we were testing our screen shares before this and stuff. I had like how many IMDb's lined up for this so that we could, point out highs and lows in careers.
yeah,
So
like I'm
folks, you're not just, you're missing out on that, but you're getting lots and lots of blue steel instead. So be grateful.
which goes yeah, we might like if which is if it gets a little bit too annoying or something like that, we might try to restart the stream and stuff like that. But
We'll play on through. We're committed to it now, I guess. So you know what? If no, let's go to the comments because I want to see if somebody said the next one that's on my list from the show notes. Let's see: Beetlejuice, Batman, Mr. Man, Multiplicity, etc. Yeah, damn right. Marvel's big problem is murdering villains. Well, they didn't kill Vulture, thankfully, and I was really, really glad of that.
no, they didn't.
Hmm.
But they did kill like spoilers. They removed Claw, which goes or Anti Circus, which we both have a kind of like I guess love hate kind of like element to that
Yeah,
one, and then
we
uh
talked about that 2 weeks ago, actually. I think off air, it was like watching Black Panther again. It was like, I now understand because we were both kind of bummed that they killed off Ulysses S. Claw or Ulysses Claw. But now it's like maybe he had to go to really give Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger the gravitas that he needed.
yeah, like it's a great introduction to kill off a favorite kind of like I guess character or villain to perfectly introduce them, kind of thing. So yeah, I do have to say it's a great it's a great way of introducing the character. So
And to cover those comments, the person I'm picking next, being what I thought was going to be the most commented name, hasn't come up yet. I see we're frozen completely now. Enjoy whatever pose we pulled, I guess.
scratching my
Just
head.
let us know if the audio dies. That's the only thing that will.
So um, hello, which goes if you can hear us, let us know. Which goes we're back again. I'm hoping that will
I don't
update
know if it
us.
is, but Paul, in my head, you just went hello, and I almost turned around and went hello. I forgot. I forgot. Um, Getting lots and lots of helpful messages. So thank you everybody for trying to help us through this. I do appreciate it. Appreciate it. We're moving. I think we might be completely moving. Let's not tempt fate. We'll see. I'm gonna, you know what? Let's just pretend like nothing happened. Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. was the big obvious one, particularly
Mm,
since we were talking Marvel, that I thought everybody was going to shout because Robert Downey Jr. started off, uh, you know, not like he didn't shoot to fame. He had a bit of a failed stint on Saturday Night Live, but he made a hell of a career for himself first time around.
hmm
All the way up to Chaplin and possibly even beyond. And then Paul, what happened to RDJ? He had some personal issues.
Yeah, like I guess yeah, like I don't want to go too far into it kind of thing because this is a sensitive subject even for everybody and also for Michael for Robert Downey Jr. as well. He had some his father who was a director was very much into kind of like I guess weed culture and kind of drug culture, which led into his kind of like early life. And then on top of that, his original career trajectory was to be a musician, which didn't really work out, kind of thing. So he went into acting, which just I guess made it. He exploded onto the kind of like the teen heartthrob kind of scene and stuff like that, but it's honored the alcohol or just exacerbated the alcoholism and the drugism and stuff like that. So eventually he was found out, which goes and which goes he went to rehab and he kind of went into back. It's kind of like receded back into his personal life. Um, the Iron Man obviously was the first movie that had his whole comeback kind of thing. Marvel really took it out on a limb, so much so, which is a little bit of trivia. He paid his own filming insurance.
Yeah.
He the studio didn't wasn't able to get him insurance, and he wanted the role so badly that he was saying that he would pay for his own insurance and stuff like that. It paid off massively, which goes
Not just for him, but for them. Yeah. Like he's taken home one of the biggest paychecks in the history of movies personally himself. But I'd say everybody at Marvel has benefited from Robert Downey Jr.'s insistence and John Favreau, by all accounts, John Favreau's insistence that they could really do it. If you ever get a chance, there are great things on YouTube that aren't us. I know. Usually it's like you think YouTube, you think Patrick and Paul on Here Is Out, and
yeah, of
think of
course.
nothing else. But if you're gonna go and bother looking at anything else here that isn't one of our other videos in the video section, enjoy. Like, subscribe, share, blah blah blah. Tickle analytics.
nice,
Yeah, I'm over it.
nice segue into the social stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. My bag days are over. The audition is up. The audition that Robert Downey Jr. did for Iron Man is searchable and findable on YouTube, and it is brilliant. You're like, yeah, how could they have picked anybody else? When you see some of his audition work, it was just, yeah, he is Iron Man to steal the line.
yeah. He
Um,
he he is a perfect fit for the Tony Stark role and stuff. Just on another note, just because we're talking about audition videos, Hugh Laurie's audition for House is also amazing. You should also check that
yeah,
out. Kind
yeah.
of thing. Um,
Actually, audition videos in general, you can lose a lot of time on YouTube. So many of them are leaking out and going up there, and some are fantastic. Particularly any audition footage for somebody who didn't get the role. That's there's a bittersweet nature to it sometimes. Particularly when you see the kids that were auditioning for George Lucas for young Anakin Skywalker. One of them was really good, and it wasn't the kid that got it. And not to pick on that kid, because he's a grown man now, and I'm sure he took enough flack over the years. But there was another kid, and you're like, wow, they could have got him. Damn it. That's like, oh,
it's
that's
it's
rough.
it seems to be always the way that you'll find like you go through if you go through some of the audience or the audition thing, you're just like, oh, that seems like it'd be the perfect fit. If it was a role that you would look on now and go, it's a bit iffy,
Mm,
kind of thing. Like
yeah.
it's if for like House, I can't even fathom like the other audience. Like if I had a look at the other audience tapes, I'd be just like, yeah, you're not Hugh Laurie though,
Yeah,
you
like
know.
who else could they have? Like, they could have tried to get Mike Myers or somebody for like who would end up having been the other option that they could have gone with, and it would have been a different show. Yeah, the could have beens that should have been, and then the could have beens you're glad that didn't happen.
Hmm.
Um, I'm gonna throw in a kind of a one I twinned with RDJ, Mr. Downey Jr. himself, and that's Rob Lowe. Similar sort of heartthrobbish nature when he was younger, but maybe a lot more because he was really part of the whole Brat Pack thing. Rob Lowe was big sex symbol when he was younger. Then had sex scandal, I guess, or whatever the old version of sex tape was, and he had a few ups and downs in a few kind of weird years. He never completely again stopped working. Like he still has credits. It's not like he was completely out of work, but it really was TV. He's a good example of TV coming to save the day. Him and Keefer Sutherland, who I also mentioned in the description. Keefer Sutherland is another person who was big in the 80s. Then TV saved their career. So with Keefer Sutherland, it was 24. That's obvious. Everybody knows that one. But with Rob Lowe, he actually had two. So it was The West Wing and then Parks and Rec.
Yeah, and we were discussing this beforehand. It's like I would attribute his coming back more towards Park and Rec, which would be more recent than The West Wing. Like, don't get me wrong, the West Wing character that Rob Lowe, Sam Seaborn is incredible. I love him and stuff like that. He's an amazing character. He's not as accessible as the Park and Rec character that he plays. So I attribute his for intellectual and not like that's the gets yeah intellectual and far reaching which goes acting abilities, I would attribute to which go West Wing, but his kind of his range within the comedy sect and his like key standing to a character's like because his character in Parks and Rec is ludicrous. Like he's a great character, which good, but it's a lot more accessible because he's a comedic. It's a comedic role and stuff. So
Yeah.
and not a kind of highbrow as much as West Wing.
The comments are over to the side, and before you look or I look, what's the bet somebody's mentioned Wayne's World as part of his comeback? Because it's weird. Wayne's World's one of those blips in his kind of wilderness years that you're like, yeah, he was in Wayne's World. That's true. But I think in a lot of ways, it was like a really advanced audition, and by advanced I mean like in time for Parks and Rec. In some ways, it was like, yeah, I've got a bit of range in this direction too.
I see. This is the thing is the blip of Wayne's World because it's Wayne's World. Yeah, it's Wayne's World 1, isn't it?
It's the first one, yeah.
Yeah. He plays the kind of the I guess recording or the record label kind of like big shot manager guy. Um, he I'm wondering if the reason that they got him because he's meant to be kind of like a weird sex pest, not sex pest, but like
No, no,
he's
Sex Pest is me and you. He's just sexual deviant, or so I don't know what the hell people
he's
classify anybody as now. He's not.
like yeah, like in Wayne's World, he's kind of like a kind of like a weasel. Like he's a
Mm,
like so like it might be just forethought in the writers and producers and casts like director to like who would be a really good seedy character to have as our kind of like record label.
yeah,
Let's just
and
go
he,
through
he was
Rob Lowe.
perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
so
he had the smarmy kind of pretty boy thing going on. I thought he actually he played it quite well in Wayne's World. I thought that was one of the standout little performances. I'm just laughing at the fact I didn't think the word sex pest was going to be uttered. Like I haven't heard that since before lockdown. That's the last time somebody shouted it at me. Um, no, it's
yeah.
one of those weird things that he's I'm glad he's back. He's another one of those people that's
Mhm.
back. Okay, it's back in TV, but TV's the new movies, guys. The golden age of TV is now. So it's
Yeah.
by no means a bad thing. Keefer Sutherland, on the other hand, his star rose, but he's in what Designated Survivor and a few other things now. I don't think Keefer Sutherland's going to have the longevity in this second career that maybe some of the other people we talk about will.
No, I think he may continue on with with smaller kind of like TV directory and stuff like that. But I think it'd be a hard sell depending. It would have to be a fairly particular role that would get him back to kind of I guess full Kiefer Sutherland kind of like elements. Still love him in the Lost Boys though, but yeah,
Yeah.
and Flatliners and stuff like that. So
The seminal roles for him, they really were. Let's get out of the kind of the obvious ones then and into the interesting ones. But the last of the obvious ones for anybody who hasn't shouted out, like I see Matthew McConaughey was there. Yeah, he's on the list. There's a lot of the child star people, like Drew Barrymore is a great example. I think the interesting thing about Drew Barrymore, although people say like Jason Bateman, I'd argue that Jason Bateman's a huge star for me because I really like Jason Bateman. He's in a lot of things, but is he or was he ever a massive star? I don't know about that. For me, he's more of a Sam Rockwell. He's just brilliant, and he's in a lot of things, which is great. Drew Barrymore, though, from ET to the kind of the weird Poison Ivy type years, where after like she's had the whole child star thing, man. It's scary when you read some of the stories. It's like drinking at 8 and doing coke by the time you're 10 is just weird. And then
is
in kind of over sexualized movies. Sorry,
Is Drew Barrymore Poison Ivy?
no. There was a film she started doing. No, it was like it wasn't DC related. It was
Oh
just the
yeah,
name of like
because I was just
it
like,
was
was that Michelle Pfeiffer or something?
no, no, that was Uma Thurman, I think. Um, but yeah, no, Drew Barrymore did like some kind of steamy teen type stuff. Not all of it was terrible, but it was real. God, yeah, that's not the best career direction. And then Scream happened, and everybody's like, "Look, it's Drew Barrymore. She's in it for the first 5 minutes. So maybe 7 minutes. I don't know how long that opening scene is, but it captured everybody because Scream was a great movie. That was a great intro, a great opening scene. And everybody was like, Drew Barrymore. And man, oh man, did she parlay that into a real second coming of her career, from like Charlie's Angels to just loads of things. And, she became a director and a producer and all sorts of stuff.
Hmm.
So she's got her own media empire now. So
Yeah,
fair play to Drew Barrymore.
she expanded outwards, kind of like as in from actor to director, producer, and everything like that. I think that's the thing that keeps surprising me about Ron Howard as well, but that's a different.
Oh, that
Um,
Ron went from being like, Opie and whatever he was in Happy Days,
mhm.
Richie Cunningham,
Yeah,
to directing Apollo 13 and Rush and other good movies.
Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons, Inferno, that whole series.
Did he do the Da Vinci Code ones?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Like
That,
it
yeah,
keeps.
I read one of the books, the first book, and then I had no interest in seeing the movies after that. I was like, eek. Um,
They're good.
were they any good? Were the movies any good?
Da Vinci Code has pacing issues. The rest of them don't. Tom Hanks is really good as the main character. It's like a more intelligent, which is National Treasure.
Oh wow,
Like
wow.
that's the best way to put them.
Now I want to see that with, like, Paul from Heroes Out. More in,
Yeah.
4 stars, more intelligent national treasure, and then just have Nick Cage pick that up from the DVD aisle, read the back of it, and be like, "Oh man, I hate
Hey,
that Paul guy."
National Treasure is really really good, but it's specific to like
I
ludicrousness.
I kind of love it. I'll be
Oh
honest,
no,
but
they're
everybody
great.
knows I have a soft spot for Nick Cage, because let's face it, one person containing that much interestingly different crazy he's a gift to us all. I want
His
you to have a look at the comments, Paul. I want you to have a look at the comments. Start
uh,
after Sam Rockwell, because
yeah,
I just
yeah, yeah.
noticed that somebody caught me on the sex pest thing. Um, yes,
Someone
COVID
got
has limited my sex pest abilities.
has it? Sorry, I'm trying. I read the whole like Uma Thurman and Michelle Pfeiffer. Yeah, I got them mixed up, but it was more the confusion of Drew
Drew
Barrymore with
Barrymore,
Poison
yeah.
Ivy, and I was just like, that's not right.
Do you know
Which
why?
is
Do you know why? Because she was in that movie. Drew Barrymore was one of Tommy Lee Jones' Two Face, or who was it? The Riddlers. He had, like, as they used to put in movies, like the side girls who would
something for the
just be
dads.
randomly. Yeah. Drew Barrymore was one of those people. I'm pretty sure. I'm
Oh,
pretty sure. I'm pretty
okay,
sure.
chat. Please look that up and make
Yeah.
like that's look it up and see
Yeah.
if Drew Barrymore was. I think it's the two faced which goes henchwomen.
Or it could have been Jim Carrey's Riddler lady type things. Or so. I just remember there being unnecessarily over sexualized people just kind of standing and looking a bit.
Okay, let me just point
She
out.
was this good. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
right.
good. Let me just point out. We know that Poison Ivy isn't in that one. In the Two Face one, that wasn't a link that we were making.
Yeah.
Let's just say that there's no film after the Two Faced one, really.
Mm.
Which is or there's a gap, and then there's the Christopher Nolan Batmans. There's no one in
Yes.
between.
The real Batman started with Christopher Nolan. It ended with Batman Returns, and then started up again with Batman Begins.
Hmm.
Not a whole
Just
lot happened in
and
between. Oh,
George
Val
Clooney,
Kilmer. Yeah.
and George Clooney will be judged at the pearly gates for something that happens between those movies.
I have a theory
Harshly.
as to why he has done so many good movies since then. It's pure atonement, because he really has made some excellent movies. Um, and I think it's all just he is working his ass off to pay off the bat nipple legacy. One thing I will say is thank you everybody for your comments. We're completely spiraling out of control talking about Poison Ivy and stuff. So I'm going to just say child stars. There's a whole load of them, and it gets very depressing when you talk about their going as ways and coming backs. But I've actually got another one on my list in my kind of more interesting ones. So do you want to go with one of your kind of interesting ones first?
Is it Renata Ryder?
No, it's not. Oh, is
Okay.
Winona Ryder one of yours?
Yeah, because she had that because like I guess when I was younger, when I was younger, the whole kind of like trial of her, kind of like the shoplifting and stuff like that came out. Kind of stuff. Her court case with like, which she was on a downward spiral, and that was the kind of like, I guess, lowest point kind of thing to it. She was also a child actor as well, because she was famous for like Beetlejuice and stuff like that.
And
So
Heathers and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, so like her amazing comeback is the mother in which is Stranger Things.
Yes, that's true. Actually, that is
Like
the rebirth of Winona Ryder.
she was doing
Oh,
which is she was in a couple of other TV shows and stuff like that, as smaller like cameo kind of things, as like, visiting mother and stuff like that. Um, but which is, yeah, her like um resurgence is really definitely like attributed to Stranger Things,
mm.
which goes so
Which she was perfect for too, and especially when Sean Astin shows up as the sweet kind of tech store guy, and they were perfect because they were both child actors, at the same time. They were both kind of roughly around the same era, so it was really really nice to see both of them still acting the shit out of it. If
hmm
you excuse my phrasing, I thought they were both really good in their respective roles.
yeah, yeah, that's you just reminded me of the sadness of that character.
Oh yeah,
He was a great one. But
brilliant.
is he in Mighty Ducks? For some reason, I got him in my Mighty Ducks in my head.
He could be, because he played a lot younger than his age for a long time. But I still haven't seen the Mighty Ducks, Paul. As much as we talk about the Mighty Ducks, I'm letting you
Because I know,
down. I know,
because
brother. I know.
Foggy's in it. Foggy from Daredevil is in the Mighty Ducks. He is the big bruiser like guy. He's one of the Ash brothers. Anyway,
So
that's
he held on to his build then. Okay.
Mhm.
Um,
um
well, I'll throw one at you. I'm going to get the only person that can on the rest of my list that can be mistaken for a child actor. Actually, no, I'm gonna no. Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf is the reason we're doing this video right now in a lot of ways, because I just said to Paul, I want to find an excuse to talk about Shia LaBeouf.
mhm,
Um, Personally, love the guy, and when you look at his career, he started off as a child actor, yada yada yada. But when you look at his career, he came onto most people's radar thanks to Transformers,
mhm.
um, and then he got to do a few other movies that were mediocre to okay, but he always acted really well. I thought no matter how bad the movie was, he did a great job. Shia LaBeouf, you could put him in anything up to and including a Transformers movie, and he would stand out as doing quite a good job, I thought.
Yeah.
Humble opinion. But that all kind of went wrong around one Indiana Jones film. And that Indiana Jones film derailed his career in a number of ways. Number one, it's not an Indiana Jones film because there's only three of them. Anybody asks you, there's only three Indiana Jones films.
Once
The
again, there's
fourth
a
one,
gap.
yes, exactly. Fourth one didn't happen. Um, and he outwardly said that it was a bit of a mess, and
Hmm
that really pissed off Steven Spielberg and a bunch of other people, hurt his career. He went through some personal issues. He had some issues with alcohol, I believe. I don't really want to go into what his issues were, um, but he ended up going into what his issues were because part of his comeback. I watched two of his films in the last like 6 months. Peanut Butter Falcon, which I would heartily recommend to everybody.
Still need to see it, but it's on my list, and it's up near the top.
It's a good film. His performance is excellent.
Hmm
And Honey Boy, which is a great film, and his performance is just stunning. And it is semi-autobiographical, so it's about his journey and his relationship with his father as a child star up to adulthood. And yeah, it even covers a little bit of Transformers in there. You look at it and you go, "That's the Transformers moment right there." Okay, yeah.
hmm
So Shia LaBeouf, no matter what happens, he ended up being referred to as the meme guy because he was the do it, or he put the bag in his head going, I'm not famous anymore. Or he might be known as the plagiarism guy because he stole a storyline from the comic book writer dude and then claimed that it was a meta commentary on plagiarism. Like he definitely had his issues. but I think he's squarely back. And because he's talented and because he seems to seriously want to be better, I'm thinking that we're in for some of the best years. And I'm going to go out and just say, in about 5 years' time, if he doesn't have an Oscar, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, like yeah, I'll get on that train as well. Like Shia LaBeouf is one of the like he's an amazing actor. Um, one of his comeback things was Fury, which is one of my favorites, which was war movie thing. I guess it was still on the verge of his kind of crazy, not like it's sad
It
to say
was part of his
craziness
kind of
movies.
his rehabilitation period. Like he pulled out a perfectly good tooth for Fury. Like
Yeah,
he was still doing the a little bit extreme stuff,
yeah,
but his performance in that movie is it's great. Like him and John Bernthal, that cast, and I know we've bigged up Fury a bunch of times. Anybody who hasn't seen it, you are doing yourself a disservice. Even if you don't like the subject matter, you'll love the performances.
it's
It's
a
a
tough
great movie.
it's a tough watch just because of the subject matter, but the actors in it like are just like each one of them brings such an amazing performance to it. And Shia LaBeouf, like it was necessary in that, like not the pulling of the tooth thing, but Shia LaBeouf's kind of like I guess method actingness kind of was was necessary for that film because like the director had them fight every now and again just to kind of get their aggression up and stuff like that. Like Brad Pitt talks about that a lot about how like the film was very extreme and stuff. So like Shia LaBeouf probably I would say that Shia LaBeouf survived that like kind of like I guess I'm gonna say exorcism esque kind of like exercise in putting you through crap to get the best performance out of you. Probably a lot better than a few of the other actors did. Which goes,
Well, he did also survive, and again, he kept working. Nobody, if anybody, and I haven't looked at the comments yet. If anybody's commenting, Shia LaBeouf kept working the entire time. He pretty much, yeah, he has been. He's been making movies. He survived not only the Fury thing, which helped him kind of transition himself back to who he is now, but he also survived Tom Hardy in Lawless,
mm,
which he described as Tom Hardy being like a gorilla who marks his territory. You know, if I'm ever going to get a chance to interview, and they're like, you can pick one just low level person who worked on a movie set for its entire filming, and you know they're not an actor, they're not a key player, but they can tell you about what it was like on set. I'm going to pick that movie. I want to know what it was like for Shia LaBeouf as he was then, and Tom Hardy and that whole cast in what I would say was a very strange filming process.
yeah, I would say so because that also had which was Pierce on it as well, didn't it? He was
Guy
the
Pearce.
yeah he was the
I nearly said Pierce Brosnan. Jesus, sorry.
he was the FBI or the specialist kind of like marshal or sheriff or something like that. He plays a strange character, and I know I've heard like Guy Pearce is he's not a real method actor kind of person. He will take on traits to keep it going and stuff like that. But he's one of those kind of like I guess aggressive. He can be slightly aggressive as well in kind of like his cues and
Yeah.
ways of acting and stuff like that. Tom Hardy, I would feel it would be interesting to play with him with Shia LaBeouf just because it was probably at that period of time when Shia LaBeouf was being like kind of crazy, and Tom Hardy just had to kind of like yeah mark his territory and kind of going you can't really fuck with me kind of thing.
Tom Hardy scares me. I'm on the record thinking that Tom Hardy's one of the great actors of our generation yet again, but he scares me. There's something just about the dude. I would feel uncomfortable in a lift with him. I'm sure he's the loveliest dude in the world, but he has an underlying presence that kind of makes me, hold my handbag slightly tighter to me.
I think he makes me giddy. I think that's probably the best way. I think I would love to be stuck in a lift with him for like an hour just because I wouldn't talk to him about his acting. I'd just shoot the shit with him. But
Mm.
I think he's a very interesting kind of person because I think I fell in love with him more because I didn't see Legends and Bronson until after I saw Inception.
All
Um,
right.
with because I think and obviously Batman him as Bane as well. But there's a line in it where he's just like you shouldn't be afraid of dreaming a little bigger, darling. And he takes out a grenade launcher in like I think the first level of the dream kind of thing, which is just phenomenal. Which gets so that's when I fell like in love with Tom
Well,
Hardy and stuff.
we're running the risk of, because Shia LaBeouf, I'll talk about him all night. Tom Hardy, talking about him all night. Great actors. We should stop by the comments because we've got some. Oh, we're gonna have to scroll up. There's an active comment section. That's cool. Ice to see you. Yeah, sorry, call back from earlier. The shoplifting thing. She was known. Winona Ryder was only known as the shoplifting celebrity for a long time. Foggy from Daredevil.
Yeah,
Holes.
Shia LaBeouf is in Holes as the main character.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. That was his Disney movie, I believe, wasn't it? That was his first big one. Um, After his child acting contract. Uh,
Yeah,
oh,
this is the problem with going to the comments because there's a couple in there that are mine.
oh,
Like
right. Well, then
so,
pick one of them and make it in reference to this comment. Then.
yeah, so it's actually good. Brendan Fraser, because he was in like George of the Jungle, he was in the Mummy series and stuff like that. Like he was a big like, and then before
It
that
was huge.
there's like there's a few because he's also in what's that, Bones, Monkey Bones or something.
Monkey Bone. That's the one that
Um,
ended his streak. Even.
I think yeah, like I think that was kind of like yeah, I think that was the downfall in his kind of thing. That was like Al's apartments kind of thing for other people. Um, but yeah, he's on his way back. He's in Doom Patrol as which is as Clay. Is it Clay or Clayton? Which is he's the robot. He's the race driver who
Yeah.
which is he loses his body and is just in the robot. He has like he's the voice. Like he has made such an amazing comeback in it. Like he's really made me kind of like miss the Brendan Fraser of old kind of thing. Um, I got an injection. Once again, Scrubs is coming back into play here. He's which is he is Dr.
Dr.
Cox's
Cox's brother
no, he's Dr.
or best friend.
Cox's best friend,
Yeah,
who's his wife's or ex-wife's at the time's brother. Which
that's
is
right.
he's and he's
Brother-in-law.
he that was probably
Is it too soon to spoil the episode?
no, yeah,
It
go.
was a very emotional episode, and if you're going to watch one episode of Scrubs that isn't the Michael J. Fox one, I would watch that one actually.
That's an underdog, yeah. But yeah, I it's the first time that I cried at Scrubs. Probably was that episode because it's like it's real hard, real gut wrencher kind of
Yeah,
one.
finger in
So
your ears, everybody. We're going to do a Sixth Sense on it and tell you what happened. And most like Sixth Sense, he was dead. There you go. Got that out of the way. You're right about the comments though, because I have in my extended notes over here, beside Mickey Rourke, I was meant to mention Marissa Tomei, who did make a great comeback. My cousin Vinny was her shot to stardom. And we've talked about it before on the channel. People gave her a lot of crap for being Oscar nominated for that role, which she deserved the Oscar. It was a much better performance than people ever give her credit for. And she made some other great movies. Then she did have a fallow period, to be fair, but really came back. And as part of that comeback was The Wrestler.
yeah, that was that seems to be another run of those kind of like they wanted good names for it, but they also wanted them to be lesser known, not lesser known, but like big hit kind of ones where it's just like we're getting Mickey Rourke and kind of thing back. Yeah, but talking about my cousin Vinny, it's like it's an it's incredible like movie, and like she definitely makes it like just the world's better kind of thing, just with her kind of like lovely bubbliness and kind of like amazing which goes uh execution of dialogue that she had as well.
Yeah.
Like she's incredible.
And, a lot of people don't recognize a strong female character being written back then just because of heels and, spandex or lycra or whatever, she's wearing. That was the strongest character in the whole movie. She was the smartest. She was the most down to earth. She was the most connected. She was the most realistic. She was the most forgiving, thoughtful, supportive. Like she was the most just about everything in a movie full of what are essentially not great people. Vinny, your hero, is a bit of a con man in a lot of ways. Small-minded town, small-minded judge, two very unlikable defendants in Vinny's cousins. Like she had the meat and bones and meat and potatoes for the role.
Hmm.
Um, so it was written. I think go back and watch it again, thinking about that, and you're like, oh yeah, that really was the most important role in the movie.
Yeah, she is. It's like without her, she's like this. Like not even for the court case kind of thing. She holds it all together completely because she's the only person that could put up with Vinny,
Yeah,
and but she's the only person that like
tell him what he needs to hear when he needs to hear it too.
and he'll listen. Um,
And she knows
so
cars, so she was always a winner with me, that character. I'm
um,
gonna just before you hit the oh sorry, go for it. You're going for a
no, no,
comment.
no. So I was just going to Comeback Kings. Robert Downey Jr. We've already talked about it, Iron Man and everything, which is Mel Gibson, which is an interesting one. I'm not gonna skip a turn because I know that you want to talk about it, but
No, no, go for it. Was he on your list? He wasn't on mine.
he like not really on mine. Which because I haven't seen him in too much recently. Which goes so that's a kind of interesting one. Um, the only thing I've seen him in, like I can't like, so it's called Get the Gringo when it first came out.
Right.
It's an I don't know what it's called now because it came like it's essentially about Mel Gibson essentially getting himself put into a prison in like Central America. I think it's Mexico,
Okay.
which is and it's a very interesting story, kind of thing. I think he gets put in to try get someone out of it or something. But it's a very interesting story and stuff. Very good. But I haven't seen him in much other stuff, so
He's he came back and had success as a director again with his not Heartbreak Ridge. What was the
Hackshaw.
Hacksaw?
Yeah.
It was Hacksaw Ridge, wasn't it? Yeah. I want to take this as my chance though, not to miss the window of backing up Marissa Tomei with another comeback queen, and this one is one that not an awful lot of people think of, and it's Renee Zellweger, who I wouldn't necessarily say has had the most stellar career, and I don't know, she's not really on my radar as somebody I think of as one of the great actresses of all time, but she was gigantic for a while. Like Jerry Maguire put her on the map. She was already, a face that people recognized, but she became a name with Jerry
Hmm.
Maguire. And that was in the mid 90s. And then by like 2010, her career had just fizzled off to nothing.
Hmm.
And then last year, was it last year? Yeah, it was last year. Judy, she shows up. It's like Renee Zellweger's back. Oh, really? Judy Garland's story. Oh, okay. And then boom, Oscar. You're like, whoa, that's how you leave a room for 10 years and walk back in, dancing. She made quite the entrance. But I don't know what she's attached to since then. I know I have her IMDb page here, but I'm not even going to bother trying to pull it up. Um, I will be surprised if hers is a long lasting comeback. But fair
Hmm.
play to her. That's one hell of a thing. Come back and get your Oscar. Then maybe retire. Who knows?
Yeah. She's a good one. Not on my list. Not on my radar too much. We've mentioned her in a couple of videos before about how like she's come back in a powerful way as well, kind of thing. So,
So
um,
who you got?
well, which is I wanted to point out that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is an interesting one because he was in Third Rock from the Sun,
Yes.
and a couple of other things, but his comeback was kind of I guess Looper
Looper
was
was
it?
his big adult hit, his first of the big adult hits. And
Yeah,
he did a few things. He did the Bike Courier one and he did 500 Days of Summer. And can't remember the name of the Bike Courier one, but I actually really enjoyed that movie.
yeah, like
Um,
I would say because like interesting connection to Scrubs again with like which is 100 Days of Summer, but Garden State. I'm an idiot. Uh, is it Garden
you're
State?
thinking Zach Braff
Yeah,
is Garden State. Yeah.
Garden State. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's an interesting one because like yeah, Looper, which was a fantastic role for him to come back into the kind of more adult mainstream kind of thing, and then and to have him go into Inception as well is just an amazing kind of like extra pull to things and stuff. Which now he's just one of those I see him in a movie and or I see him on a list of casts or something like that. I'm just gonna go like, yeah, well,
Oh, it's
he's
good
got
that
to be in
Joseph
this.
Gordon-Levitt's in it. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
he's a positive. He's a boon to anything you see his name
yeah.
in. That's very very true.
So he's a plus mark on the whole thing. So, which is, um, Which goes, let's see, I'm just having a look through some of the things.
There's a little bit of talk of the sadness around Brendan Fraser, which I think we're
Eh,
intentionally leaving out for now.
yeah, I didn't really want to touch on kind of like the more serious of things.
But
Um,
thank you for whoever called out. It was Lisa called out Premium Rush. That's the Courier movie. That's fun. I can't remember which streaming service that's on at the moment. If it's on one of them, it's worth a watch, folks. It's a fun little movie. Um, Looper was a few years after Inception. I or was it? Hey, you know that's a great thing when you mention Inception or Memento or anything. You can just go, or is it?
yeah,
Or are they? Um, are we even here? Yeah. So you've got you've got a lot of Joseph Gordon-Levitt goodness out there.
yeah, he was amazing in Third Rock from the Sun as well. Just an amazing kind of character, funny character as well. So it's nice
Well,
to see him in more serious roles and stuff. So
can I throw out another comeback queen then? Jennifer Connelly. She's somebody who, thanks to The Labyrinth, became very big very young because Labyrinth was a huge film. Never underestimate how big it was at the time. It was gigantic.
mhm,
Um, but if you look at her IMDb, which you know what, I'm not even going to try the sharing in case it hangs everything, Paul. If that's okay, um,
sure,
we seem to be doing well. Every 5 years, look at her IMDb. Every 5 years, she gets another big role, or at least a role that looks like it could be her big one. So I actually wrote in my notes: Labyrinth was '86. Then she did a few movies that weren't huge. The Rocketeer was in '91. Then she has a credit on Mulholland Falls in the mid '90s. Then she wins her Oscar in 2001. Um, like she then comes back again. The Earth Stood Still. Um, she has never gone away, but she's
mhm.
also one of those people that does the movies that don't get massive views, or does the formulaic stuff that's not really intended to be big, and then she'll show up periodically for the last 30 years in something a bit bigger. And she's going to do that again with Top Gun 2.
Yeah.
I think I'm assuming she's going to play the person who finally snags Maverick. I was going to say his full name. What the hell was that character's full name? Oh,
Can't remember.
God damn it.
Um,
Maverick. Anyway, she finally gets the flyboy who was Kelly McGillis's unobtainium. Oh man, I hope they make Top Gun 2 quite cheesy, because if it's too
well, that's
serious,
nice.
I won't be able to enjoy it.
Yeah, because there's I have some prediction ones that will be that are linked to that one, but I don't want to go into them
Oh,
right away.
okay.
Just
Well,
as you
I've
just
only kind of got one more, so you go for whatever you got there.
which is no, I don't. I don't have any kind of like. I guess Jim Carrey would be considered one that now kind of like thing.
He's on my soon to be back list. He's the
Y-
number one on my. He's about to make a comeback because he owned the '90s. Let's face it, he really did.
Yeah,
When he went away, it wasn't for way too long. He was never that much out of the public's consciousness, but he wasn't the same size as star. His TV series Kidding has been cancelled. It's 2 seasons and done. But I think Jim Carrey's ready to. I think he's going to land a few of those big roles. He'll get his next Truman Show or his next Spotless Mind. He's too good an actor for people to not want to use.
yeah. Like that's the thing because like I think his comeback. I see the reason that I'm kind of have him in the kind of like I guess middle period kind of thing is his portrayal of Dr. Robotnik is kind of like brought him back into the eye of things. And then his currently on SNL, his Joe Biden has also brought him back into the kind of like I guess mainstream kind of comedy kind of like scene again. Um,
He's perfect, Joe Biden too.
his
His It's so funny.
hit like Alec Baldwin and Jim Carrey being Trump and Biden for the like not to get political or anything like that. It's just it's comedic gold in the sense that they just play off each other. They're both very well at playing those character or those people.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
it's
say
awesome.
character because
Well, somebody shouted out, Bruce shouted out, Dan Aykroyd needs to come back. I love Dan Aykroyd. I don't know if he does need to come back because I think he's shilling, I think, is it gin or whiskey? He's got his own vodka. I think maybe it's the stuff that comes in the skull. And also, I think he believes in crystals and astrology now and stuff. I'm not too sure what's going on with him.
I
Love
don't
Dan
think
Aykroyd. Don't know if he's ready for a comeback.
I don't think I don't think that's I don't yeah I wouldn't say that that's criteria for not having him come back, but
No, no, it's just
I think he's done like he's done so much for the comedic world and stuff like that. I think he's done like not as a kind of like I don't think I want him back. It's more that I think that like he's left a good mark on kind of like
yeah,
the comedic world. I think coming back would probably damage a legacy that is like laced with amazingness,
yeah.
you know, kind of thing. So that's I think that's where
That's the
um
right way to put it. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say because he's possibly gone a wee bit looper that he shouldn't have a comeback. I'd just be worried about the choices he'd make and damage his legacy. You
mhm.
articulated it well. Thank you for saving me on that. Um, the one before we go back to the comments, the last one I wanted to throw out there is another one. I tried to think of ones that people won't think of because they just fly under the radar that they're comebacks. Everybody knows. I can never say this name right, so give me a break. Mayim Bialik, who was she was Blossom when she was younger, and then she was on The Big Bang Theory as Sheldon's girlfriend. I'm not a Big Bang Theory fan. Would you do you know what the character's name is? Oh,
Amy.
there you go, Amy. Uh,
That's I
Amy
can't
marries.
remember. Can't
She
remember
marries
his name.
Sheldon, I think, or something. Sheldon's the most famous one, I think. Yeah, so she made that whole, kid star, went off, became a neuroscientist. Fair play to her, and then went back to acting. Had huge hits. She's not the one I'm picking. It's the analog of her. It's everybody's dad in some ways. It's Ed O'Neill. Ed O'Neill from Married with Children. Think about it for a second. He was for 10 years and 250 something episodes of Married with Children. He was the Homer Simpson dad of the 80s.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's a good one. I like that.
80s
Like,
to kind of 90s, whatever, 85 to 95 or whatever it was, or 87 to 97. And then Modern Family shows up and he gets to play the grand patriarch. Um, and it ran for what 10 or 11 years. I think it finally finished up. So again, 200, 300 episodes. He has, with a kind of a 10 or 15-year gap in between, been the patriarchal figure into time-bound comedies. That's how Married with Children's how people wanted to see, the funny family in the Fox narrative 80s, 90s. And then the kind of the Sky Fox Modern Family, quite literally Modern Family view that he was part of then. So that's a hell of a comeback. It's a hell of a bit of typecasting in some ways. But yeah, so there's one that when I thought of him, I was like, cool. I finally thought of one that I don't think people have picked out.
yeah, he's good because I think Married with Children may have damaged him for later kind of
Mm.
sense. You know, like he was a very kind of it was a very good kind of character in the sense that he was very 80s, like early 90s kind of like I guess
He was a male chauvinistic pig,
yeah.
which at the time was, they were playing against culture for an awful lot of the kind of mid to late run of their show.
Well, that's the thing, and I think that role may have like I don't think his portrayal or anything like that of the character. I think the character itself may have damaged him in the sense that he became
Yeah.
known as that person, not as a character or he plays that person and stuff like that. But having him coming back as Modern with Children, as the kind of like slightly like unaware father, where he's trying, you know, kind of thing is great in Modern Family, where like it's one of those things where it's like you know the thing you just don't understand, but you're trying, and then sometimes you just that the facade of trying breaks, and you're just like, what? No, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
He was a great bit of casting. And it is one hell of a gap between two huge shows. So, he was on two shows between the two of those shows for 20 years, let's say 10 years apiece. And he had, a 10 or 12-year gap in the middle. So what the hell does that tell you? There's a guy who's, in a 40-year career, let's say, or in a 35-year career, had a, third of it be a gap, let's say. I know he did TV movies and a few other things. He showed some of the stuff he showed up in he was quite good actually, but we don't have time. Renee Zellweger got a shout out there. We covered her, so thank you somebody for. All I wanted out of this was to pick something that everybody didn't see coming, and my guesses were Renee, Jennifer Connelly, and Ed O'Neill. Shia LaBeouf, I thought maybe somebody would have caught, but you've opened up the door to the soon to comebacks.
Mm-hmm.
My pick for that's Jim Carrey. Then it's all about Dolomite Is My Name. I think Dolomite Is My Name was the door opening for Eddie Murphy, and you'd never even know Wesley Snipes. I doubt it. I'm joking. I know it's his comeback after prison film, but I think Eddie Murphy he's like 3 sequels on the books. He's got Coming to America,
Once
which is
again,
Coming to America Part 2.
Once again, the title guys are really pushing their luck. Really pushing
Yeah.
their luck with us.
Coming to America 2, as we should refer to it, or Coming Back to America.
Return to America.
He's got another Beverly Hills Cop in the works, apparently. That'll be 4, I think, or 5.
It'll be number 4, I think.
Yeah, I liked the first 2 so much I didn't watch the third.
Third one's the one with the third one is the one with the
theme park. That's why I didn't watch it.
So let me just get this straight. The first one is with the racetrack.
Second one's the racetrack, I think. Yeah, that's Bridget Nielsen. First one is, well, maybe the first is second one's the racetrack.
Chat, give us a hand here.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So he's got another one of those, but he has another sequel coming. Yeah. I know what it is. It's you talk about naming department. Do you know what it is?
No, I think it's the Nutty Professor 2 or something. No, they already did something.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny DeVito, and who is their third brother? He's going to be in triplets, I think. So Twins. The follow-up to Twins is going to be called Triplets, and it's Eddie Murphy, I believe.
Okay, that's wow.
I could have sworn you were the one that told me that. That's why I thought you knew. No, I heard it off somebody. If that's completely wrong, I was about to blame you for that.
That's
either I dreamt that or it's.
Oh, if you dreamed that, write that script. And I'm like,
I don't want to, and I'm not, and you know what? I'm committing not to flick over to the 57 IMDb tabs that I have for all the notes here. I'd rather not know.
Who else? Do you have anyone else for comebacks? Because I have one which links into which is a movie that we've kind of Val Kilmer with because he's either making a return or a cameo in the Top Gun movie, which I think will bring him back into the main light again.
I hope so. Now, I don't know because I have not done any research on that particular thing, but has Val Kilmer had some sort of, I don't want to say throat cancer or something and be wrong, but I think he may have had some medical condition at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm hoping he's good to go and ready to rock and roll because him and Robert Downey Jr. and Shane Black made a great movie called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yes.
And I would love to see Val Kilmer again. I think the man had chops.
Yeah, I think he might be heading back, which goes
be good.
Which goes. I'm thinking of who else would be Kelsey Grammer.
Frasier.
Yeah, because I think there's an idea of a renewal of the Frasier TV show. Which is, I don't know if it's in the works or anything like that. I've just heard rumblings of Frasier, and if Frasier comes back, I believe that's like Kelsey Grammer will come back because right now he's Sideshow Bob in The Simpsons. He did the X-Men movies as well, but
yeah,
we don't know how. Like he was great as Beast, he was great as Dr. McCoy. But I don't know if he's going to do if you're gonna do like I think Fraser, if they do bring that up, I think they'll bring him back into the main light because he was amazing.
I could definitely handle more Fraser. I love that man's voice. Also, you know what? If they did do a Fraser follow up, it would be a chance. They can bring their Niles or Daphne or whoever from the show back. They don't have to bring everybody. It doesn't have to be Fraser again. They can even dip into the pool for Cheers. Maybe he moves back to Boston. Start shacking up with Woody, Woody Harrelson was barman there, and he's still good. Ted Danson still got it.
Yeah.
Why don't we have an Odd Couple type show with him and Ted Danson? I'll watch that.
You would have an amazing kind of like, I guess, chance of kind of either either renewing one show and then having loads of cameos from the kind of, I guess, father or like parent show, which is, or just, yeah, just essentially merging all of them together back in together, and just having like Frasier, Cheers to Frasier or something like that, you know?
I like what you're thinking. Now I'm gonna jump to the comments on the Frasier note because I know Brew will have said something, but I thought it was an April Fool. So okay, I'm going to say Danny DeVito revealed he's figuring out a sequel titled Triplets. If he can find the right script, he still wants Eddie Murphy to be on board as co-star. So maybe not even with Schwarzenegger. Crikey. Um, that yeah. So I'm glad I didn't dream it up in one way. I'm sorry I didn't in another way, but at least I know I don't have to get checked by a doctor.
Casey
Uh,
Affleck, wasn't he? He was in
Manchester by the
Manchester,
Sea.
yeah,
Yeah.
which was about
Casey
what?
Affleck, he got semi cancelled. I guess. I'm wondering how much this is in reference to that, because I didn't keep up with the allegations because I don't have an interest until something is corroborated or clear because I don't want to just be a
Yeah,
voyeur looking in.
yeah, like I don't. It's one of those kind of things where you're just like, there's certain things that you're just like, nope, because like Justin, what was it? Just yeah, there's actually no. I'm not going to get into it. There's a few
Yeah,
actors who have done things that I don't want to see them to come back to. I'm still surprised that Mel
Mel
Gibson
Gibson.
has some kind of, I don't know why I just had a
I like
stroke or
Mel.
something.
Mel Gibson's this dude that you meet, like who's your
It's
accountant? Oh, it's Mel Gibson.
it's my whole Johnny Depp, um
Ginny Deep.
yeah, kind of thing again.
Well, look, I
um
think Casey Affleck's a great actor. I don't know what the story is because until it was confirmed, and that's why I wouldn't say I don't want him to come back or I do want to come back. Do want him to come back? I don't want to touch it until something is actually said, proven, covered, whatever. Because I'm not into this whole everything from yeah. There's too many bad people and then too much collateral damage on top of that. It's just
yeah,
weird. But to get away from that for 1 second, because I can see that's in the chat, and I will enjoy having the chat. I respect all of your views. But Brew did bring up Frasier. I found him in the mix there. No Marty, no Frasier. Yeah, see, Brew, I happen to know, is one of the biggest Frasier fans of all time. He must have seen the whole show like right through at least 4 or 5 times now, and that's an awful lot of episodes. But I will say this to you, Brew: don't try and remake Frasier as Frasier was, and I think you can do it. I would
hmm
never suggest they go back to doing Frasier and just have everybody but Marty and the dog, and don't have the chair there as a nod to him or any of that stuff. But I say you can start telling new stories, taking some of the old with you.
yeah, like that's the thing. I think like there's rumblings of us, and I think you can tell a different story to what was told
Yeah,
in the original one. So
I've kind of got it though. What you could do is Frasier's lost his whole radio gig, and the future is YouTube, and he starts up with a mate of his. Now, hear me out. Hear me out.
are you
Oh
okay?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Are you suggesting? So who will play me?
You can be Kelsey Grammer. Like Kelsey Grammer can be you. I'll take Ted Danson or Niles or whoever it is that he starts up with. I don't mind. I'd like Kelsey Grammer because
I
the man's got a
just
great voice.
see. I assumed that you were taking the
No, no,
Kelsey
no,
Grammer kind of
no, no, no,
role
no.
in
I'm
that.
just saying, imagine the drama that they could
Mm.
create out of him trying to get a YouTube channel off the ground and having, all 7 people that he knows watching live in the stream right now. Everybody, we know that we do this for fun and we love doing it with you, by the way. So now just start telling everybody else to like, share, subscribe, tickle, and stuff. Um, we're rebooting Frasier as our life. Thank you. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't replace Marty either. So, maximum respect. I just dropped a thing there. Yeah, so I don't have any other big shouts for who I think will make is the next on the comeback. Do you have anybody else on your radar?
Uh, Demi Moore has. I've heard rumbles about Demi Moore coming back in certain respects. There's a couple of TV shows that are bringing her kind of back to, um, I guess, the limelight kind of thing. So there's that. There's a horror movie supposed to be coming. There's a horror movie supposed to be being made with her. So
Hmm.
um,
Oh well, you know what? Anybody she's done a few roles I respect her skills for, but she never really crosses my mind. Even back when she was a somebody, as I was like, oh yeah, she's she's not Helen Mirren for me. She's not
mhm,
one of those people. I'm like, I really I missed her acting ability. But you never know. I wouldn't put it
mm.
past her.
like
Um,
like let's say
oh,
this the Matthew McConaughey thing, like what was it called? It's called the Renaissance
reconnaissance.
reconnaissance, yeah, kind of thing. That's like just to mention it, like Matthew McConaughey has never been overly out of the kind of like limelight. He kind of, I guess, dropped off the radar as kind of like big shot leading men kind of thing. Because he did Safari and a couple of other movies and stuff like that. It isn't until I guess like stuff like stuff like
It was True
which is
Detective.
yeah,
True Detective really reignited his career, which was
yeah,
great.
like True Detective, Interstellar, like has really kind of like brought him back into the limelight of a lot of really good stuff.
And he
I
hit
think.
he hit a great. Sometimes I wonder, do you change agent and then you get all of a sudden you get your True Detective and you get your Dallas Buyers Club and all the rest. How much was it bad representation? I'm not giving out right now. His agent, who is definitely watching this, is going, "No, I was his agent the whole time. You don't understand industry pressures. You have no idea what you're talking about. You've only got a stupid YouTube show." To which I say, yes, yes. But someday Kelsey Grammer is going to play him, and Ted Danson's going to play me.
Oh, Martin Sheen.
Oh, Martin Sheen. Yeah, I'd like
Yeah,
that.
Martin Sheen and Kelsey Grammer would be a good combination of
Christ,
radio
can I
radio.
get Martin Sheen then? Because
Sure.
no offense, Kelsey Grammer, but I'll take Martin Sheen if he's going. Anyway, so on another episode, I wish Emma Watson makes a comeback. Okay,
I
Paul, the
think.
resident person for the franchise that made her famous, that starts
Oh,
with Harry
Harry Potter.
Potter,
Emmy Watson did a lot of other stuff after. She did like which is what is that called?
the
This
Apple one, the Circle or whatever it was called,
she
the
did the
one where
Circle,
it's
which
supposed to be Google or
the
Apple.
Circle one was good. I really did enjoy that. But she did like stories. I think it's oh god, stories of a wallflower and stuff like
Oh,
that. She went to kind of like I guess the opposite. She had a very similar trajectory to Daniel Radcliffe, I would say, as a kind of like they decided to kind of like I guess go into the more to the other kind of like films like so Wallflower was great. So yeah, the also can I just say Balon the Hobbit, I have to say that you have a fantastic username. Um,
yeah, that's the second time they got called out for that fantastic username, by the way.
yeah, because it's dwarves and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Um, but yeah, she I think she did a very similar thing to Daniel Radcliffe, which is they went into kind of like I guess probably lower budget, but more kind of like I don't refrain from saying indie. I like because I would say that they are kind of like just not mainstream, as in like they weren't the big Hollywood kind of like blockbuster
yeah.
movies. They were more telling a different story and stuff. But then
I'll be
she's got
honest. If she does make a comeback, I will absolutely give her all credit in the world, and I'll give her all the chances in the world. I'm not massively familiar with her work, being completely fair.
she went into kind of I guess like I don't think it's like she went into kind of like women's rights and equal like she became an ambassador to women of the UN, I believe, as
Cool.
well. I may I'm gonna show my ignorance, like so like don't crucify me for it. But yeah, she took a big kind of stance on kind of women's rights and everything like
Good
that.
on her.
And she did a fantastic. She did a few very good dresses to the UN, which you can find on YouTube as well, which where we are.
Hey,
So
and I you know what? Because if it's all right with you, I'm going to try and walk us toward an ending on
mhm.
this fine technological marvel that had three starts and may have no end. I want to say big thanks before we do close out to everybody who's joined us.
Mhm.
It's been an interesting one. It's definitely been a little bit different. I've really enjoyed it, but Elijah Wood just got a call out, and Elijah Wood's another actor who has never really gone away. He just takes, he takes a breath in because he was big child star, big Lord of the Rings, big Sin City, big lots of things. I really like Elijah Wood. It was oh I don't want to be here anymore. What was the one he did? Oh crap! I'm gonna get the name of it wrong. He did a really good movie, which it doesn't help me saying it's a really good movie. I will look it up. Paul, say something because I have to look
It's
that up.
okay. Which is he? Yeah, Elijah Wood. I think it's yeah. I don't want to be on this planet anymore or something like that. But
That's it. Yes,
um, which goes
something. Yeah,
but yeah,
it was
Elijah
great.
Wood's been really good because he's on Dick Gently now, which is fantastic. It's a Douglas Adams adaptation as well, which goes props to him being the um which goes kid in Back to the Future as well. He's the kid in the second movie who's at the gun thing, which
Yeah,
goes. But he does.
and he's
He's
cute as a button too.
yeah in that. But he's one of those characters like Diana. He's or characters. He's one of those actors like Diana Radcliffe and Emma Watson who's kind of like decided to branch out to kind of like into more interesting projects, which I think Nick Cage does a lot. He goes into a
Yeah,
lot more kind of more interesting kind of positions and things, or more interesting kind of projects and stuff. Because he did which goes the Color of Evil, I believe it is, and Mandy and tons of other stuff, which is great because like um, yeah, I know Dick Gently ended a couple of years ago. It's just that he it was another kind of big revival
it's a
of him and stuff.
yeah, and it ran for a little while too. I was, speaking of Daniel Radcliffe and all those people, and this is not a great way for me to work towards an ending, bringing up a whole new thing. But Daniel Radcliffe can definitely act. I think we can all agree on that. He does make interesting and weird choices, kind of like Elijah Wood does some interesting stuff. So if it's the same for Emma Watson, fair play to her. I was lucky enough to see Daniel Radcliffe do. He's been doing theatre. He did a Sam Beckett play that I didn't get to go to because COVID happened.
Mm,
And the Old Vic in London had a recording of it, and anybody who had tickets to go had an option to log in and watch a recording of one of the performances. So it was the weirdest thing. I went to the theater in my own front room, watching it on TV. It was a very surreal experience. But Daniel Radcliffe was very, very good and transcended the medium because you really should be in a room for that. But no, his performance was great. So yeah,
he,
Danny Rad can do it.
Daniel Radcliffe is talking about him. He did Horns, which is like I think one of the first films he did after the Harry Potter series and stuff like that, or maybe during it. I don't really know the timeline of that, but it made me physically angry at but that was at the content rather than his performance. But it was his kind of like I guess personification of my race that really made me enjoy. He's done a couple of other like a lot of other things. Um, which goes Guns Akimbo. I watched, which goes. I've already talked to you about the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Soundtrack's a little bit off and stuff like that. But yeah, so
Well, I have found a way to end, Paul, though. You remember the big master list of just I sent Paul a big brain dump about this and
oh
listed
yeah,
a crap ton of people. And I don't know if you remember what was written at the very bottom. It just basically said, and I suppose Nick Cage in every other film, which
yeah.
is a comeback. Nick Cage finally got a mention. Nick Cage never went away, never came back. Just yeah, I know we mentioned him as part of National Treasure Sideways earlier on, but he deserves a special mention in all of our videos that we ever do about actors. Actors being anything, being amazing, being terrible, doing good movies, making comebacks. Just yeah, Nick Cage. Nick Cage.
We salute you for your choices of
That's
movies.
that is how I would suggest we end because I want to thank everybody for joining us and I want you to like, subscribe, share. Most importantly, thanks for commenting. Second, most importantly, do share and tell all those people what I just said about the whole liking and subscribing thing because that's how this analytics stuff works. But yeah, we appreciate your time. Thanks for sticking with us on a fun Thursday night. We'll be back next Thursday night to talk about all manner of things, including topics that you can send us. So
Yes.
please get on the socials, get in the comments. You comment on any one of our videos because I know you want to go back and watch them all. We get notified, so we read all the comments. So if you want to just randomly throw us a thought you're having while you're watching one of our other videos, do it. We'll see it. And you could see it here live in person on YouTube.
Socials
Yeah.
are down there below
Socials are
below
down there
Patrick.
below me, I think. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah. comment down below and stuff like that. I think I've now this comment thing connected to my phone now. I'm
Yeah,
so
me too. I
desperate for
installed the app.
so.
Yeah, every now and again, just a little bit behind the curtain, folks. Every now and again, when we put up a video, you get like sexy bot 67
Oh,
sending you two smileys and an XX saying hi.
I
Someday, Paul,
I
I'm going
think
to reply going, hi, it's Paul here. I'd like to know
oh
more about what you're.
I like this is the real sad thing about that bot because there's a few bots now, but I know we're meant to be going, but last week because we did the horror movie one, check it out, guys. Like if you have any more stuff as well, like it's Spooktober, so Spooktober, but it message saying like you have a comment on the Halloween movies things, and I was like, yes, I'm single, fuck.
Yeah, yeah, I know. You're kind of crestfallen when the first comment in, you're thinking, "Oh, cool, somebody watched the video and had a thought." No, no, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Uh, this is going to be probably our longest and least watched video, so we can talk about anything we want right now. But yeah, love you all. Thanks, everybody. I have been Patrick,
And I have been Paul.
and we're making a comeback along with all the other actors next Thursday. We'll see you then.
Oh, nice comeback. We're here as out. Bye.
Bye bye.